Over 90% of startups end up with failed MVPs, many of them not even able to get a product to market. My name's Adam, and I'm a global software development agency founder from Sydney, Australia. I started my career as a freelance software developer on the world's largest global marketplace for talent called Upwork, and through delivering over 50 successful projects there, I then forged my own software development agency called APG Software Solutions. We've built over 60 products for clients all across the globe, so it's safe to say that I've been very involved in MVPs over the past 5 years, and I've had a good insight in companies that are doing it correctly and where you can go right and wrong when building an MVP. Over 90% of startups fail, 10% in that first year, and 70% by the 5-year mark. Of that, 38%, or the largest portion, are reporting it's because of budget issues and running out of budget, and a following 35% are reporting it's because of a lack of a product market fit. In conjunction, that accounts for over 2/3 of the failed startups out there. Over my time building all of these MVPs, I've interacted with a lot of founders, some which have gone off to do multiple funding rounds and build really successful products, and others that have gotten lost in the path of the MVP development. In this video, I'm going to give you my overview on the things I think are really important to understand and keep in mind when building an MVP to give you the best chance of coming out the other side with something to show for it. Now, to start off here, it's probably really important that we define what an MVP is and what the common perception of building a successful MVP looks like. MVP stands for minimum viable product, and the definition of that is the absolute core product needed to solve your market problem. Now, a lot of people misinterpret this and don't actually attack this correctly. And one of the major reasons I've noticed for that is founders tend to be very emotionally invested in their own idea. And that can sometimes distract them from realizing that a lot of extra features and the bells and whistles that they think are crucial really aren't needed in that initial core product MVP. And I've been guilty of doing this myself on some of my own products that I've built. Typical examples of this can be overcomplicating the third-party integrations in your application, overcomplicating the database, overcomplicating your tech stack, and building too many features, some of which have never actually been validated by real paying users, and sometimes don't even end up being used. So how can you mitigate this? There's a number of ways you can do it, and something I see some of the founders that we work with do really well is get a product team in, someone that might be a little bit less emotionally invested than the founder, who can kind of see through the FUD and give you a second opinion on what things are actually crucial to solve the market problem and what things could be added into a future feature list after your MVP launch. Another way to try and mitigate this is to really put effort into your scoping or discover phase before you build your product. This file or document, or however you do it, should really outline a whole lot of things like your problem statement, your problem overview, your application features, user roles, and pages. And it should really go into detail with the problem statement and what features will be absolutely crucial to solve that problem statement and what are nice to haves or nice add-ons. Another way you can try and address the issue of budget fit and also a market fit is to select the correct tech stack to build your application on. The tech stack that you choose can have serious implications on the cost of building and also the time frame in which you can build your product. Typically, slower, more expensive solutions are going to mean that you're going to run tighter on your budget and you're going to have less money to allocate to things like marketing or other things that could influence your MVP success. And it's also going to keep you less agile. The MVP is one thing, but actually getting real user feedback and iterating on your product is really important to ensure that it's a market fit. And the tech stack that you choose, you want to be nice and agile and quick so that you can iterate rapidly and try and shape your product into something that users in the market actually want. From my personal experience, I've seen some dev teams take 2 years to get simple projects to market and way too slow in iterating and making changes based on user feedback. And that is really detrimental to their business. The third thing that I see being a real big issue in this space is some startup founders trying to shoot too high before they've even developed a product with one paying user and build their product on complex tech stacks that are built for enterprise grade scale and are sometimes a lot more expensive and take a lot longer to build on, when possibly they could probably consider some quicker, cheaper options to begin with and have a plan in place to then migrate over to a more scalable solution later down the line. It really helps to consult professionals or mentors in this space that have built tech before, because it's a really complex landscape. There's a million pathways that you can go down and each of them have their pros and cons. So it's important to talk to people that have actually built successful MVPs before, see what tech stacks and what processes they've had in place that have gotten them there, and then try your best to replicate them. Now, the main things that lead to failed MVPs are actually all very familiar to me and things that I can definitely see happening to people that haven't done certain things correctly when they're building MVPs. And they sound really mundane and simple, but without a proper plan in place, these things are almost guaranteed to happen to you. Some of them include a lack of defined MVP features. So if you haven't planned and scoped your project out correctly and you haven't got clear goals and features that you're targeting for your MVP, there's no real fixed structure on your MVP's release date. And so what that means is your team's not 100% sure what the MVP even is, what are the core features that we need to get in place to solve the market problem. And that may mean that you never even launch your product because you just get so bogged down in adding extra features that nobody really knows the end goal. Rather than spending 6 figures and 6 to 12 months and then getting let down, which is honestly heartbreaking. The other two main ones being technical issues and a lack of user engagement. And to me, that really just sounds like inflexible tech stacks or frameworks, because if you've built on a tech stack that allows you to easily modify your design and your user experience and really easily kind of debug your application, and you've kept it simple for your MVP, I think with the right tech partner, you should be able to mitigate that. So to me, I translate that into an incompetent tech partner, because technical issues really shouldn't be the roadblock to your application if you've planned it out correctly and your tech partner's committed to building you an MVP that is according to your scope of works or your design file, and it's according to your Figma prototype. If you've done all those things correctly, your tech partner should be able to deliver you what you guys agreed on from the start. Now, I know all of this is information that you've probably heard about. It's pretty common knowledge and it's all backed up with statistics. I want to give you my personal experience dealing with clients almost on a daily basis in all of these MVPs. Honestly, the main roadblockers that I see and the main things that I try and communicate to MVP developers and what I've seen work the best is non-technical founders that are very open to feedback from technical founders, trying to find that middleman when it comes to functionality and delivering you a quality product. When it comes to the discover phase as an agency, they obviously want something that's really cool and has all the bells and whistles because they want to deliver something quality. But we have to kind of explain what an MVP actually is. The MVP is not the be all and end all to your product. It's the very start. We can add all of the bells and whistles after that, but we want to listen to real users. We don't want to hypothesize on what the users want and end up building things that nobody uses. It's a waste of money, it's a waste of time, and ideally we want to get something in the hands of real users as soon as possible. A lot of founders can sometimes take this as a personal attack, but some founders will think that certain features or certain things are absolutely critical because in their mind, this is the be all and end all of their product, and they don't really understand that you can keep things extremely basic. Instead of using certain third-party integrations, you can use CSV imports of data and all sorts of things that you can hook up to try and build them something in the time frame of 4 to 8 weeks and for a budget that is way below the industry average. Then what they can do is they can put something into the hands of friends, beta testers, all those kind of things. They can get real user feedback, and then we start throwing the extra things on top. So the language that we use with founders that come to us with an idea is we try and take them through a methodology that doesn't say you can't do this and you can't do that, but rather explains that, you know, there are possible shortcuts and things that we can take here to get you a product that's in the hands of real users in 4 to 8 weeks. All these extra things we can definitely add, and it's actually easier for us to add those in because if we reduce the number of pieces that we have to fit together, it's quicker and easier for us to get a stable product out to launch. And then we just add the pieces one by one as extra stages once we've got you that initial core product and you're out there in the market getting valuable user feedback, showing it, demoing it to people, and we're moving really quickly for the minimum budget that's required. Now, the key thing that you probably took out of that is 4 to 8 weeks. And a lot of people think that sounds like rubbish because the tech industry is used to these things taking 6 to 12 months plus. There's a lot of hype around new AI tools out there like Replit and Lovable. And so there's actually a lot of options, and it's really hard to see through the FUD and the mist on what could be an actual scalable long-term option and what sounds great, but just isn't at the level where it can stably support these ideas at the current stage. AI is meaning that we're seeing new tools come out almost on a daily basis. And for non-technical people, it can feel like there's a million pathways and a million options, and it's really difficult to see through and actually select one that's going to support their idea in the long term. But we use a low-code framework that we've been using for the past 4 years that we know is tried and tested and we can build scalable products on really cheaply and securely and scalably. I'm sure over the next 5 years, there's going to be plenty of tools that allow you to do this that come out on the market. But the issue is actually finding people that have tried and tested these with existing MVPs and are actually experienced enough to wield these tools and know how they work. A lot of people are using these new AI builders, but they don't actually understand the code that's being generated. And so they're not really realizing they may be accumulating a lot of tech debt and not even realize that they're doing it. The general idea of these tools is great though. And what they're trying to do is reduce this issue that's causing over 90% of startups to fail, which is people getting stuck in the wasteland of developing an initial product idea, which these days really takes 6 to 12 months and often over 100K to just get an MVP or a validated idea to market. And that's before a real paying user's even tested your product. The gap in the market for people to build solutions that can do that for 1/10 of the time frame and 1/10 of the price is definitely there. And that's what these AI tools are really trying to solve. But in my opinion, especially a lot of VCs and a lot of startup accelerators are still operating on that old mindset of how you can build an MVP, because the new pathway with good reason looks risky. And if you don't know how to navigate those waters, a lot of people would rather just steer away from them. But if you talk to people that do know how to navigate those waters, I think there can be significant benefits for you and your company and being able to actually launch an MVP that is successful. So my final conclusion here on how to actually build a successful MVP that navigates the really treacherous landscape of startup development is to try and find a tech stack and a solution that allows you to build and iterate and get a product to market in rapid timeframes and for a price that is extremely affordable. Using this, you can actually get valuable user feedback, and for a price that's often 1/10 of the cost of traditional software development solutions, you can understand whether or not your product is actually valued by users, and you can see if you can get your first paying user. With that paying user base, you can then iterate rapidly, and you can have a project that's 5 or 10 iterations deep with real paying users in the exact same time frame that traditional companies are still only halfway through development. If you're interested in learning more about no code and AI, or possibly freelancing and agency management in this space, I do operate a completely free community where I publish all kinds of content related to this niche. So if you want to join that, the link will be in the description. If you found anything in this video remotely helpful, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel and let me know in the comments what you think about my proposed approaches here. If you're in the startup development journey, good luck. I hope you've got a really strong team around you, and I hope you try and educate yourself as much as possible on what an MVP is, the options that are out there for you to build an MVP. And I honestly wish you the best because it's an incredible journey. It's a lot of fun, and good luck, and I'll see you in my next video.